Hello, Tony Wilson.
Hey, Liesl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
So, thank you for taking some time out to talk with me today. I just want to have something where we can explain to people all about the DRC outreach team.
Yeah.
So, first, introduce yourself and tell me your title and what you do with the DRC.
Okay. First, thanks for having us on to get to talk a little bit about our mobile assessor program. My name is Tony Wilson. I'm the Director of Mobile Assessment and Street Outreach for the DRC.
And tell me just a little bit about that street outreach team. Just what's the overview of what y'all guys do?
Yeah, so our mobile assessment team is out there in the community conducting street outreach, working with folks who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness. So we go out, whether it be out in the woods or under bridges, find people and help connect them with services, whether it be shelters or eventually more long-term housing. So our focus is all centered around connecting people with housing resources.
So I know that we at the DRC recently pivoted the Housing Navigators program to the outreach program. And can you tell me a little bit about why that decision was made?
Yeah, so previously our mobile assessors were referred to as navigators.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we did was landlord engagement. We went out into the community, tried to build these relationships with property owners and landlords in order to get some of our clients into housing. So it was a lot of apartment searching, driving around, learning which landlords were willing to work with us. And once our homeless coalition produced Pad Mission, which is a little expedited way of finding landlords that are willing to work with our housing assistance programs, we were simply repurposed due to filling a more needed gap. And so we were transitioned from navigators to mobile assessors, moving to the front end of homeless services, ensuring people have everything that they need to be eligible for housing assistance.
So tell me about that gap. What was that gap, and why do you just tell me some more about the gap?
Yeah, so this past October, we were repurposed from navigation to mobile assessors. The more we started to see that the unsheltered population wasn't coming up for housing near as often. There was a significant gap in the number of unsheltered getting housed. And so the trend started to be that people that were staying in our night shelters were more likely to get housing simply because we knew about them. And now with us out in the field, seeing these folks week after week, we're able to build that history that is ultimately what's going to be used to get them qualified for housing assistance.
So how does that qualification happen? What are the steps that you guys are making sure happen for people?
Yeah, so whenever we come upon an individual or family that's experiencing unsheltered homelessness, we'll assess their housing needs. Are they new to homelessness? Did they just lose their job? Can we make this process as short as possible? So for some people, they may just need a deposit and first month's rent, and they're back on their feet. Some folks that have been homeless a year or several years, they need a little more ongoing help. That's a big transition from years of unsheltered homelessness into moving into an apartment alone. So we really just determine what the appropriate housing intervention is. So we complete a couple different standardized housing assessments that's going to give us a better idea of what might work for that individual or family, and then we're going to connect them with the Continuum housing program that fits their needs. So we coordinate intakes. We bring out our computers, our phones. We let clients use our technology to get those intakes scheduled so that they can get into housing as fast as possible.
So give me an example of some of the programs, because I know that all of the programs aren't just DRC programs. It's part of that continuum of care here in Tarrant County. And so you get people assessed and you get them into that system, and then they might go into programs from where?
Yeah, so that's a good point. We work in the continuum of care. So any of the housing programs we work with are here located in Tarrant County. Some of our partners are Presbyterian Night Shelter, the Salvation Army, MHMR. The DRC, as you mentioned, has several housing programs that we wind up linking clients with. Center for Transforming Lives, the Salvation Army, if I haven't already mentioned that. So basically most of the homeless service providers, whether they be shelter or behavioral health, they also have housing programs that they operate under.
So you guys are going out and connecting those people who are living unsheltered, which basically means they're not going to the night shelters and seeing people regularly. And so you're making that connection and getting them into the system that can start moving them towards one of the programs within the continuum of care, correct?
That's exactly right. Folks that stay in the night shelter, they're almost at an advantage for housing if outreach isn't there, because someone's tracking that they're staying there nightly and they're aware of their needs. So our purpose is to go out and find those folks who aren't comfortable in shelters and make sure they have equal access to housing.
So how do you find these people?
So we have plenty of ways of finding folks. There are some bigger campsites located in Fort Worth that have traditionally always been campsites, different people, but just as hidden. So we normally will check there. We receive referrals from John Peter Smith, from the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition, and from the city. So we follow up on referrals from those folks as well as our youth providers with City Square and Seasons of Change. So we all have a weekly outreach meeting where we discuss where some new camps are popping up at, what type of needs those folks might have, and then we get out to see them as soon as possible. So normally if we get an email or someone needs to be seen that is staying in their car, within 2 to 3 days, we're out there meeting with that person, ensuring that we complete their assessments, that they're active in our system and eligible for housing. We want people's homeless episode to be as short as possible. And so we like to get there as quickly as we can.
So how many folks right now, how many staff members are on the outreach team?
So we currently have 7. We have 5 that work out of the DRC. We also have 2 staff that are DRC staff that are embedded with the HOPE team. The HOPE team is a multidisciplinary outreach team. It is comprised of DRC staff who handle all of the housing assessments and housing matches. It is also consists of Fort Worth Police and Fire Departments and MHMR, who handles behavioral health referrals. So just a team of different backgrounds coming together, to try to ensure people have access to services and, aren't falling through the cracks, here in our community.
How many folks do you think that your team talks with each week?
Each week, I can give you a monthly number better, just simply
okay.
monthly report. So between the 7 of us, we see anywhere from 160 to 200 individuals a month.
Wow.
So we definitely stay busy. We cover not just Fort Worth, but we're out in Arlington at least 1 day a week. We go over to Kennedale every once in a while. As long as it's in Tarrant County, if someone is unsheltered, is in a need, we'll go out there and discuss housing options with them.
Now, I went out with you guys a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, I don't remember now, all the days running together, and went to one of the bigger camps with you. And it was just really eye-opening for me because I had no idea that was there. And actually, I think we went to 2 separate ones. And I thank you for taking me out there because it was just really eye-opening for me. And to think that you guys are out there every day with people. And tell me can you think of one really good success story of someone that's been housed that you might want to share?
Yeah, we've had a few. Since we started in October, we've really seen an increase in unsheltered folks getting matched with housing programs, which is it's great to see because it's why we do the work that we do. One that really stood out for me was Mr. Russell. He and I had worked together on and off for several months. I kept getting him connected with housing programs, and it just wouldn't end up working out. He was a Vietnam veteran. He had different behavioral health concerns that made him, not appreciate some of the things some of the programs would offer. So it was just really about finding that perfect fit. And then right before the holidays in December, we were able to get him connected into a housing program where he moved in on, I believe, December 12th, right before the holidays. And he still calls me once a month, basically just to touch base. And he's very happy, he's comfortable. And it's really just a reminder of why we do what we do. Just knowing that it worked out for him. He didn't give up, I didn't give up throughout that process. And knowing that it worked out just, feels really good.
So for people that are watching this and might see unsheltered people out in the community, what kind of advice would you give to them when they feel concern and care for someone, and how can they help? What would be the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're out and about and you come across someone who you feel is unsheltered homeless, feel free to reach out to the DRC. I know Liesl is great about passing on those referrals to my team. And like I said, we'll normally follow up that week. We certainly don't want anyone out there sleeping outside without any hope of housing, without anything working in the background, without any services, being used. And so definitely reach out to us. Keep in mind, that there are shelter options down on Lancaster. So one of the first things we do when we meet up with someone is make sure they're aware that they don't have to stay outside. There are some shelter options available if they choose to seek those out.
Yeah.
So you can always do a quick Google search of your local night shelters and point them that direction. But like I said, if you just want to send us a referral through our website, we'll be happy to follow up with those folks.
Well, and I'll put an email address here somewhere once I get to putting this together. So one of the kind of myths that we hear a lot is that everybody that's living unsheltered wants to be unsheltered. They just want to be there. They don't want housing. And I kind of battle that with, that mindset a lot, because I want people to understand that really the barriers to housing for people who are living unsheltered are a little bit different, and they may be choosing to be in shelter right now for a variety of reasons, but that with a connection made with someone like you and the people on your team, that can change. Can you talk a little bit to that? Yeah,
so I've done outreach on and off for several years, and you certainly will meet people that choose to stay outside. That could be someone with severe mental health issues or other underlying issues we're not aware of. So
right.
That's certainly not the norm. I'm messing up here, Liesl. What can you just redo your question? It was kind of
I was just talking about, it's okay. I was just talking about people that have this impression that some of the people in the public have this impression that everybody that's unsheltered just wants to be unsheltered, just doesn't want to have a housing. And it just seems to me that you guys are making connections with people and building relationships and building trust, and that takes time.
Yes.
And that can really turn around somebody who may initially present as, I just want to be here. But after building some relationship and trust with y'all, that they may change their minds about that. Have you seen that happen?
Yes, we have. I'm really glad you pointed that out. Trust is a big theme when you talk about outreach. You're approaching people in their homes, so whether it be under a bridge or off in the woods, that's where they lay their heads at night. And so you walking up on them, could be frightening, just like it would be if someone walked in our front door. And so building that trust, it's on an individual basis, how long that process takes. Some folks are happy to ask for help and start that process right away. Some folks, we're going to revisit them for a couple months before they're willing to complete an assessment and talk a little bit more about the services we provide. But to also add on to what you said, there are people who choose to be unsheltered homeless, but it's an anomaly. That is a very small number of people that you meet that choose to stay outside. A lot of what you're seeing is, severe mental health issues and, lack of support systems, so just people that have no one to turn to, and a lot of times they'll lose hope, and so we're hoping to be able to reach those folks and, to ensure that they have hope, that we can offer that, and that us following up and continuing to do what we say we're going to do builds those relationships so that we can make sure we get them into a safe place to live.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add today?
think we pretty much covered it. Do you have any more questions for me?
I don't think so right offhand. We've pretty much covered everything, but I just wanted to thank you guys. I think that you are such a vital part of the homeless services here in town. And I think a lot of people, when they think of homeless people, they think of people experiencing homelessness, they think of the persons that they see on the street corners or out in the community somewhere. And they kind of assume that maybe everybody goes to a shelter. And like I didn't know about the camps, and I see the tents sometimes under overpasses, but I had no idea about the little kind of communities within the camps even. And it's a whole different world.
Yeah, they're very hidden, and community is a good word for it.
Yeah.
You find a big area where there could potentially be 10, 15, 20 folks back off in there, and they are a community. They help feed each other and clothe each other, and provide each other with supplies when they need it. And so that's something that I really appreciate seeing in this role. And I'm glad that you had me on here to talk a little bit about our mobile assessment team and give a better picture of what we do.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thanks, Liesl. Take care.
Bye-bye.